Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome back to the modding of Isaac with Lyte. And today, we're going to work on characters. There's no Lua involved in making a new character. You're going to need Lua if you want to make them different than anyone else, but if you just want them to look different, or maybe start with a different item, and you can do that without any Lua at all. And that's what we're going to work on today. We're not going to make a complete, total revamp of a character. We're not going to do all of the new things you can do, but I'm going to cover which things you can change, and then you can go about your sprightly duties and make them cool. And you can see on the left, that character looks a little different, doesn't he? So if we go up to New Run, to the left of Isaac will be the new character that you make. So we made Lorem with Ipsum and little tentacly type face. So adorable, isn't it? You can make probably as many as you want, really, and just keep stacking them up. And the one thing that you probably really want to do without doing any Lua is change their stats. I don't know how. I'm not certain that's possible. You probably need to get into Lua to actually change their stats. You can change how the stats look on here, but the actual stats themselves, it's a whole other beast. And so here we are. We look like ourselves. Bright red eyes, nice green skin, wiggly tentacles. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And so you can get as ambitious as you want with your spriting. Make it look exactly how you like. This is your world. You can do whatever you want with it. And one other thing that you wouldn't expect to be very important, but is that when you die... Come on, kill me faster! Your name shows up on this card. You'd think that wouldn't be a big deal, but it's a huge deal. Because without that, nothing works. So let's get to actually making our own character. We'll have the death music again. It's kind of fun and sweet and light. So we're going to go back to our desktop, and we're going to make ourselves a new mod from scratch. Because Lorem Ipsum is getting a bit cluttered. I don't want to just work in there. So we're going to make new mod, new folder, new skin. And open it on up. We're going to need both resources and content for this, but no main.lua. Main.lua is unnecessary. So we need content and we need resources. Our primary resources are graphical. So we come in here, GFX. And then in your GFX, you're going to need characters. And in there, you're going to need costumes. Because the way you look when you start is also a costume. So let's go into Lorem Ipsum, just double check. Resources, GFX, characters, costumes, and in here is where you're going to put the sprite sheet that you made for your character. I'm just going to copy mine over because I'm not going to do it all on camera. It took me too long to do what I did, and it's not even that great. So we put it in here because we're going to need to be able to load that from our XML. So we now have how we're going to look. Then we go into content, and this is where you put your XML files whenever you make something new. And what have we made that's new? Well, we've made a new player, so we need players.xml. And then in here, we've got ourselves a nice blank XML file. We're going to need what you can find in the good old-fashioned resources folder, players.xml. So if we open that up as well, this is what you need. So we might as well copy and paste all of this and make the changes we want. So we stole the first two lines, which is the definition and Isaac. And then, as always, you need to close your tags. So we close this player's tag up top. So big portrait root, name image root, and portrait root, and regular old root are how you get to the various images that we need. So the root is where you find the skin. The skin, well, what did we call that skin? You need to make sure everything lines up exactly how you named it. So character underscore lorem dot ping. Now, for once in our lives, it doesn't matter whether or not you capitalize it. Your file system, at least my file system, doesn't care about capital versus lowercase. They end up being the same, and my file system makes everything lowercase for me. Even though deep in the bowels of it, they are capitalized. It's a neat, weird thing. So we changed the skin to match the skin that we set up in our resources. Great. However, we need to get rid of this ID number. If you leave an ID number, bad things happen. Don't have an ID because, once again, it'll conflict with other people's mods. It's no good. Name. This is where you put your name. This is a very, very, very important part. You need to make sure you know exactly what you called them. Here, capitalization might matter. Here, for the skin, doesn't matter. Here, don't take the risk. We're going to leave all of the other portraits and images as Isaac for now. Those are further along. That's when you're fighting bosses and whatnot. You can go and edit those. Please do. I haven't had a chance. And then in here, you can set what items do they start with? How much HP do they start with? Black hearts, soul hearts. So what the heck, let's kick this down to 4 and give them whatever 266 is. And let's give him 2 bombs just for good measure. So once you've set up your big portrait, your regular portrait, and your name image, you can change these bits accordingly. Just make it match your picture. And that's all we need for this players.xml. You just save it, and it's good to go. The rest is mostly done with the animation editor. So in here, we need a new folder for our graphical effects. And these GFX are the ones that we are adding onto what already exists. Now there are 3 that we're going to need. I'm just going to double check them in here just to be absolutely certain we know which ones we need. These card fronts were from a different experiment. Don't need those right now. But you do need character menu, character portraits, and death screen. But they're not all in the same place. And you'll want to grab character menu.ping and deathportraits.ping while you're at it, such that you can modify those to your heart's content and not have to make a new one from scratch. And the character menu, it's particularly important that you'll probably want to work from theirs. So let's open GFX in our new skin mod, and we're going to go into our resources and steal those anims and pings from the game itself. So you go into GFX and you go, oh my goodness, there's so many things. None of them are right here. None of them are right in the base. These are for tiers and for costumes. We're not doing that right now. You're going into UI because it's the user interface that we're messing with. Right here in UI, you've got various death things. So you've got deathportraits.ping right here. And up top, you should have death screen. Is it death screen 2? When in doubt, double check, because you need to make sure you've got the right ones. Yeah, death screen. Death screen's the one you want. So, resources, GFX, UI, death screen. Now, for some reason, it does a weird thing here that makes me think it's deathscreen2.anim, but it's really deathscreen.anim2. Just freaked me out for a second. And we need the death portraits ping. Now, I don't need that one because I've got one that I baked earlier. So I'm just going to bring over death screen 2. But this right here is what you need to work with because it's got the pictures that go in the corner. It's got the names that go down here. Then if you go to main menu, this is where we're going to find the other ones, where we have character menu.ping, and character portraits. So I'm just going to grab the anim2 files, but But you're going to work from this character menu ping as well, where you've got the pictures of them that rotate around, you've got their names, you've got what they unlock with, all in one nice sprite sheet. So it's these three NM2s that you're going to want to work with. And then I've got a couple of sprite sheets that I baked earlier. And these you can put in here. You don't strictly need to because you're going to reference their location in the NM2 files, but it's generally good practice to keep them nearby so you know where they are. So now that we've got all the resources that we need to modify them. And again, in your file system, it doesn't matter uppercase, lowercase. It really doesn't. It's hard to say that out loud, but it doesn't matter. And you need all three to work properly. If you're missing one of these files, none of them are going to work. If you don't have the proper ID in one of these files, doesn't work. You'll get nothing but blank space. So we're going to go into our tools, our animation editor. Again, sorry Mac users, we don't have the animation editor available for Mac. I'm going to show you some of the things of how it works, which might make the XML part of it more understandable, and then you might be able to modify these directly. But for now, you're a bit out of luck. So you open up the animation editor, and we open up some of those files. Okay, so we need to navigate our way over into New Skin, Content, GFX, and then grab one of these three. It doesn't really matter which one we work on right away. So let's just start with character menu and work our way down. When you open this up, on the right-hand side, you have animations for every single one of the people that you have in your game. And then the best thing to do is pick the one that is the most similar to the character that you're creating. You might want to avoid any that are locked and have locked text. So most people will just start with Isaac, or I did mine with Apollyon. It doesn't much matter. And so what you're going to do is take the one you like the best and duplicate them. And then you give them the name here that you gave them in the XML. Lorem. If you name them something else, name them something else here. This name that you add here is the identification for how the game finds it. Okay. Now, this character menu.ping is the one that they want to use. So what we're going to do is replace it with the one we want to use. So you click on it and you hit replace. And then you go to your character menu.ping. Mine has Lorem sitting right there. And there we are. So down on the left side here, we've got a bunch of layers for all of the different things that appear here. And if you scroll on down through it, you'll find, say, the power stat. And if you click on that frame, it's a key frame, it shows you over here what you have for that particular stat. So our power stat is in fact 1. Power stat 1. Speed stat 1. Life stat should be 2. So if you click on the frame, not just the layer, you have to click on the frame for it to change. There we have a life stat of 2. Then our item name is not the item name that we want the item to have. This is Lorem. We want him to be carrying Ipsum. So if you zoom out a little bit, you can see that Void is currently selected here. You can try to click and drag over your thing and get it exactly how you want it, but I'm going to show you a different way. Up to the left here, you've got a bunch of numbers. This is everything that goes into the XML. So all of them have a particular purpose. So width and height are super easy to understand. If you want it to be wider, you make the number bigger. I'm probably going to need maybe 58. 58 might be enough. Crop X and crop Y are the upper left coordinates of where you want to actually have that box. So if we change this to 140, it shifts it a little to the left. Keep watching this red bit right here. I know it might be a little hard to see. And then crop Y is the vertical. So we change this, I don't know, 970? It's close. And then you just keep working with it until it looks the way you want. So maybe 65? 65's looking pretty good. So now we have ipsum as the item. Red boxes around it and little pink cross. It's kind of hard to see this zoomed out. I don't know how to move this without changing the zoom, because whenever I try it, it does weird things. But that's how we got ipsum as our item. And then if you scroll down even further, you have the name, which is currently Apollyon, and we want it to be Lorem. So the easiest way for me to do this, because I replaced Maggie's name with Lorem's name, I can just go to Maggie and look at the numbers for crop 0, 3, 5, 2. And then I come back to Lorem and just go 0, 3, 5, 2. Et voila, the name is Lorem. It's just that easy. So if you want to change these stats, you do a similar thing on speed icon, power icon, item icon. You can now zoom all the way back in, and you might be able to see the pink cross, you might not. But you can look at the icons, which are not really what we want. What we want are the stats. So you've got 2 and 1 and 1. And then you can shift that to the actual indication you want. Works out nice. And that's really all you need to do in here. You just take and add your new one. You can remove the others if you want. It doesn't much matter. So long as you don't change any of the weirdness, it should just look for Lorem in here. It should completely ignore all of the others. It's a nice reference though, just in case you want to know exactly how they did it. And then you save it, and it says, do you want to overwrite the existing XML? Of course I do. And we move on to the next. File open, character portraits. And here we are, Isaac through Apollyon. And we've got our character menu, which, is it ours? Is it the other one? Let's replace it just to be safe. So we replace it with character menu because we're taking these guys. We're taking the portraits in the character menu. Okay. And then we take whichever person we feel like replacing. Apollyon is perfectly convenient. And we duplicate them, give them the name that we had in players.xml again. And then the second one here is their locked state. It's a perfectly good lock state. It shouldn't lock them regardless. This first one is our player sprite. And once again, we're just going to take... let's zoom out, actually. Because we're currently by Apollyon, I just put Lorem right above him. So all I need to do is take this crop Y and change it. So I'd say it's probably about 50 pixels that we need to move it. And so we take 92 and turn it into 87. And there we are. It's looking all right. Let's zoom in a little bit over here. And so it looks like it might be cropping off the top of his head a little bit. So let's move it just a little bit more. And so perhaps it's not the position so much as my version of making his head, or any number of things could make his head look flat. But if you want to test any other things out, you can always just fiddle around with the numbers. So by adding height, I should have gotten more of his head. Maybe he's just got a flat head. And that's fine. So you fiddle around with the numbers, you make it line up the way you want it. And so long as he looks good in here, he's going to look good in the game. But again, make sure you have his name there. If it says anything else, none of it works. So we save once more because that's all you do in here. You set up his portrait. Say two. All done. And now we open the death screen. Bum, bum, bum. Now, in here, it doesn't see either of the pings necessary because we didn't bring it over. I slightly renamed death portraits with a dash because I don't like spaces in my file names. But it doesn't matter. Once you reload it, it loves it. Now, this one is really weird because it gives you a lot more than you're going to need in the end. The only thing you need is this name right here. It's all you need. We're going to get rid of everything else. So, goodbye, enemy. Goodbye, boss. Goodbye, items. It probably doesn't hurt to have them here, but it's generally best to get rid of them. Goodbye, portrait. Goodbye, page. And then we're going to get rid of all of these extra frames, because we only need one frame for our character. Goodbye, frames. I don't think we need this one either. Goodbye. All you need is your name. And right now it's saying Isaac. We want it to say Lorem. So once again, all we need to do is move the cropping box down here. I don't know how far that is. So you just put in a number, see how it does. Ooh, overshot it a bit. That's 15 pixels tall, maybe? So let's go 240. And then you want to make sure that nothing else is sneaking in there. But it's looking pretty good, because if you look over here, there's no indication of that knife from Sam. And no, I don't know who Sam is. And so we got our name. And most importantly, I'll say it again because it's so crucial. You need to rename the animation to match your character. Now, I'm not 100 and whatever % sure that you do that here, or if it's just the first frame is your character. I haven't seen any mods that have more than one character. But just to be safe, name it after your character. Because naming it after Diary doesn't do anything, and I think I tried changing this to Lorem too, and it broke the whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, name it after your character. And then we're done. Save. Yes. Let's open up the second one. Just to be absolutely sure we saved it properly. He's looking good. And then we open up the first one. Again, just to be absolutely certain. Let's zoom back out of this one. Too far. And there we are with Lorem. So they're all good. They're all good to go. So that's all you really need. So we should be able to exit out of Isaac, start it back up again. Again, whenever you need to load resources, you're going to want to restart Isaac. And also, whenever you start a new mod, you're going to want to give it a chance to initialize everything. So let's head over, see whether or not everything is working properly. So back over in Isaac, we're going to switch off Lorem Ipsum. Toggle new skin just to be safe. Oh, and we have a crash. Kaboom! Crashes generally mean that something is wrong with your XML. So we come back and we look into it. So we look at players.xml and go, okay, what did we do wrong? Okay, so name is Lorem, skin, lorem.ping. Okay, everything seems to be going okay. Well, 266 might not be a good item. Let's go back to 105. And then we start it up again. see if it crashes immediately, because our mod is active. Because if we come in here, our mod is in fact active, and it should have crashed again if it was going to crash. That's the sort of thing you need to be able to diagnose, is if you have a full crash, it's probably XML. If something doesn't work right, it's Lua. And this time we didn't even have any Lua for it to be the problem. And if any resources are the problem, well, they'll just look funny. And here we are. We have Lorem. Lorem holds ipsum, even though we didn't actually make ipsum. And then when we start, we look the way we should. And we've got 2 hearts, 2 bombs, and the D6. That's all there is to creating a character. It took far less time than expected. Now, if you want to give them unique abilities, then you're going to have to use Lua. And in the Lua, you can ask for the character's name, and if it matches, then you do that character's stuff. So if you're feeling ambitious, trying to make yourself a new character, this is where you start. You modify those 3 other images that I didn't show you, the big portrait, and the name. And then you should have everything that goes into making your character look and act the way they're supposed to. But that's all I've got for this episode. I will see you in the next episode of the Modding of Isaac with Lyte.